If you're an old head, you know what I'm talking about. The Howling. The Howling, the Howling, the Howling. The Howling. What is this? What is this? 1981. The only thing that most of us remember from The Howling is the woman in black. If you're an old head, the only thing you remember from The Howling is the woman in black and her scratching the dude's back. This was like the first werewolf movie on a major scale. Okay, The Howling. So now, as we begin, wait, bear with me. Shit. Okay, there we go. All right. Opening scene. There's news reports about stories about mind and body and killings and all this type of stuff. So then there's a show. Dr. Wagner is speaking about repression. He says repression is the father of neurosis, self-hatred. He said stress results when you fight against yourself. The savage man. Man is learning and primitive. One shouldn't deny the beast within. So then Karen's a news anchor, and she's tracking a story about a serial killer named Eddie. Karen is bait. She's used as bait to lure Eddie. Eddie calls Karen from a payphone. He tells her where to meet up. They meet up at a sex theater. Okay. The cops lose the signal to track Karen, so they don't know where she's at this point. Karen meets Eddie in the movie theater. Eddie is watching a rape snuff film. Okay. So then, cut back to Dr. Wagner. He has a book called The Gift of Life. There is a pyramid and an eye over the letter I. Okay. Back to the movie theater. Eddie then transforms into his wolf state. So he tells her he's behind her. And he says, "Don't look at me. I'm about to show you something." So as he's transforming, she's looking at the theater, at the screen. He transforms. The cops get a signal back on her. They bust in. They shoot. And they thought they killed Eddie. Right? They shoot him in the head. Karen is so distraught she doesn't remember anything. Karen has a bad dream on the couch. She wakes up in a panic. Her friends Chris and Terry follow a lead on Eddie. There's an altar. There's dead animal parts. There's drawings of wolves, the Wolfman, and Karen. Okay, so Chris is Karen's producer, newscast producer. Terry is his wife. Okay. Dr. Wagner then analyzes Eddie's art. Karen goes back on the air following her attack. She spazzes out. She freezes. And they take her off air. So she's not ready to come back. Okay? So then she goes to see Dr. Wagner. Dr. Wagner recommends her and her husband Bill spend time in his colony for group therapy. He only recommends this for special clients. Right? So they go up there. They meet some of the locals. Bill meets Marcia. Marcia is the woman in black. This is the bitch you stay away from. Marcia is the woman that takes your husbands. Okay, Marcia is black leather, black hair, black. She is a gothy, good-looking woman. Okay. The doctor meets Karen and Bill at the colony. Marcia then yells at Dr. Wagner over his book. She says he's created enough problems. See, Dr. Wagner likes to spill secrets about certain things. Marcia doesn't like it because it draws heat to them. Okay? TC is looking at Karen. There's an old man, Earl. He tries to kill himself. He says he wants to end it all. Then Dr. Wagner calms him down. Later that night, Karen sees the old man, Earl, and is then awoken by howling sounds. So she hears the wolves howling at night. She wakes Bill in fear. Karen goes outside to investigate and hears something moving in the bushes. She's being watched by TC. Later on the next day, Karen meets Sheriff Sam. Chris and Terry go meet the coroner to go see Eddie's body. Somehow Eddie clawed his way out of the freezer. So when they open the door, there's claw marks on the inside of the door and the body is gone. Karen and her friend Donna, they go out and find a dead deer's head. Bill, the sheriff, Earl, and TC go looking for coyotes because they think it's a coyote that beheaded a deer, which is impossible. Karen has a session with Dr. Wagner. Terry and Chris read warlocks, werewolves, and demons. They grab a bunch of books on shapeshifters. Bill then agrees to see Marcia. He killed a rabbit and he takes the rabbit to her for her to skin it and cook it. She immediately tries to seduce Bill. Bill rebuffs her advances. Bill is being tracked by one of the pack members, and then he's then attacked and bitten on the shoulder on his way back to the cabin. Bill then goes to Dr. Wagner. He gets stitched up. Karen wants to go home. Okay. Chris and Terry get a call from Bill saying he was attacked by a wolf. The movie that they're watching has the old lady saying at the end, whoever is bitten by a wolf and lives will become a wolf. Terry then goes to visit Karen and Bill, so she leaves Chris behind. Chris stays behind. Bill begins to eat his hamburgers raw. So there's this thing in this movie. Marcia likes her burgers raw, her meat raw. So there was one point when she's cooking, someone asked her, well, how you like your burgers? She says raw. So then Bill begins to eat his burgers raw. Later on that night, Bill rejects Karen's sexual advances. Karen has more nightmares and then wakes up to find Bill missing. Bill's in the woods. In his robe, he meets Marcia. They begin to have sex by the fire. And then other wolves howl in unison. Terry hears the howling, then she records it. Marcia begins to lick the wound on Bill's shoulder. They begin to transform into the wolf state as they have sex. So as the scene pans out, you see them transforming into wolves, right? Dr. Wagner hears the consummation. He can hear the wolves. Marcia then scratches Bill's back. Bill returns home or to the cabin the next day. Terry goes to Eddie's home out there in the colony, recognizes one of his drawings. It's the same place that they're at now. Terry's name is whispered. She's being tracked. Terry goes to a cabin. There's animal pelts everywhere. She enters the cabin. She then takes pics. There's bones and newspaper articles everywhere. Then there's a growling. Then there's a knocking. And then TC, not Eddie, TC bursts through the door. See, when I first watched this, I thought it was Eddie. It was actually TC. So what ends up happening is he attacks her. She ends up chopping his arm off with an axe. And then it turns into a human hand, right? So then she runs and ends up in Dr. Wagner's office trying to get away from TC. So the crazy part is she's on the phone with Terry. She's on the phone with Chris. She's like, hey, I think I'm in the doctor's office. I'm being chased by a wolf. He's like, okay, do you see any files? Is there a file cabinet? She's like, okay, yeah. He says, don't hang up. So she's on the phone, going through the files. She opens the file cabinet. She's going through the files, and she's placing the files on the cabinet. And then this large hand grabs one of the files and places it down. Freaked me the fuck. I said, God damn, I wasn't ready for that shit. I totally forgot that scene happened. So she's so you see it like, that is the edge of the camera, right? And you just see a hand come and grab the file, Holy shit. So you got this big ass 8-foot wolf. There's this big ass 8-foot wolf, and it's the canine 4 or 5 variety. So in werewolf lore, there's 7 variants of wolves. Okay, they're called variants. Some have like a jackal short muzzle. Then you have the classic pointy ear, long muzzle with the big hulking human frame. So there's 7 different types of werewolves. All right, this one fits mainly. You know what? Fuck it. Let's look it up right now. I'm sorry, y'all. My bad. Let's look this shit up right the fuck now. Hold up. Hold up. Do a screen share. We're gonna do this together. We're gonna do this together. Let me do it. Oh, will it let me do it? Oh, it's not gonna let me do it. Oh, mother fudge. Nah, it's not gonna let me do it. Okay, security files. My bad, y'all. Wait a minute. Chrome tab. Nope. It won't let me share. Wait a minute, let me see. Wait. You know what? Okay, let's do this. I'll change it. I'll change it up. Hold up. Werewolf types. Images. There's one list that I found, and it gives the 7 types. So y'all just bear with me, okay? Shit. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. These are the type of variant wolf variants here. Okay, so you have the type 3 variant 1 is more like an ape version. You have type 3 variant 2 is somewhat common. I've never heard of the type 3 variant type. That looks like a complete ape at this point. Now here's the more popular ones at the very bottom. So, oh shit. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. I just fucked it up. Did I just fuck it up? Okay, here we go. So here, canine variant 1. That's a common. It's like a standing timber wolf. This one here, variant 2, canine. This is the one with the short muzzle, like a hyena. This is probably the most popular one here of them all. It's canine variant 3. It's the long, strong-boned, pointy-eared one. So this is what they pretty much all look like. The tall, pointy-eared, the bipedal. This one not so much variant 4. So this pack is pretty much canine variant 3. All right. Okay. My bad. Everybody get that? Okay, cool. All right. So where am I? These picks. Growling and knocking. And okay. So then TC grabs the file. She's on the phone. She said, oh my God. She thinks it's Eddie. She tells Chris Eddie isn't dead, but the shapeshifters are real. Okay, so then it backs Terry into a corner. She then turns on the light. She temporarily blinds TC. So then the wolf, TC grabs her with one hand, lifts her up, and strangles her. But the whole time he's strangling her, he's growling in her face. It's like, argh! And she's like, and he strangles her to death, right? Chris, hearing all this on the phone, loads up a bunch of silver bullets, okay? Because the old man in the store told them silver bullets can kill wolves. Karen then goes to Dr. Wagner's office to find Terry's throat ripped out. He finds her body, throat ripped out. So then Karen then turns around to grab the phone. She then hears howling outside. She then turns around and bumps back into what she thought was Terry's body. And then Eddie shows up. He jumps from underneath the covers, right? Eddie has a bullet hole in his head from the cop shooting him the few nights previous. So he's already got the yellow eyes, he's got the fangs going, he's already looking freakish. Okay, so he got this huge bullet hole in his head. So then he begins to dig the bullet hole out of his forehead. And then he begins to transform. Now this was pre Werewolf and American Werewolf. Remember the transformation scene in American Werewolf in London? How, I forget who, if it was Rick Baker or Stan Winston. One of those two guys did the makeup and transformation on this. So this transformation took about a good 15, 20 minutes. Because they showed everything, like, so his face, the bones are bulging, right? And then everything is shaking, and the jaws protruding. I mean, for its time, for 1981, this was pretty good special effects. So it took about a good 7 to 8 minutes of film time. You're watching this thing for like 7 to 8 minutes of him just transform. Okay, and yeah, when he had the fangs and the jaw come out, and then it's vibrating, and then his limbs are extending, and the fangs are coming, the claws are coming out. Okay, so she's just all in shock, and I'm just like, oh goddamn. Okay, so then gets pulled out, begins to transform. Karen then throws sulfuric acid on Terry. Now, mind you, she's in a doctor's office, so yes, there will be sulfuric acid laying around. She burns him with that. Karen then runs to her car. Sheriff brings Karen to the pack. They kidnap her. Earl and all the others are waiting. They're all in the barn. And here comes the sheriff with Karen at gunpoint. Dr. Wagner then walks in. And she goes, oh, Dr. Wagner. He pushes her off. Right? The pack members begin to explain. He explains, they all explain to Karen the benefits of being a pack member. Okay? They say, accept the gift. Accept the gift. Earl, the old man, still views humans as prey. The doctor wants to still fit in. So there's this ideological discord between Earl and the pack and the doctor. The doctor is like Charles Xavier. He wants to fit in and not offend. And they're like, man, this is food to us. We don't want to fit in with these people. We are the superior beings. Okay? So then TC shows Karen his missing hand. Right? And then Marshall walks in and she claims Karen for the pack. Alright? So then the sheriff pistol whips the doctor. So they pretty much have turned on the doctor at this point. Earl says, you can't tame what's natural. Chris then shows up, and then he goes to the doctor's office. He sees what took place. Eddie then breaks in. Right? No, it was TC. I'm sorry. At the barn, it's TC. Eddie's at the doctor's office. He ambushes Chris. He takes Chris's 308 rifle. Right? So then Eddie's face is half burned. And as Chris is listening to a recording of him killing Terry on the video recorder, right? So then Eddie's like, hey man, listen, this is not gonna do anything, because he doesn't know about silver bullets. He said, you know what, here, take your gun back and you can try. So not knowing silver bullets are loaded in. So then Eddie gives Chris his gun back, then begins to transform. Then Chris shoots Eddie with silver bullets, killing him. He shoots him in the neck, then shoots him in the chest. He kills Eddie. Chris then shows up at the barn. And then he shoots and kills TC. Chris then kills another pack member. So then Chris kills Dr. Wagner. Before Dr. Wagner dies, he says, thank God. Chris then locks the pack in the barn and then sets it on fire. Chris and Karen drive off in his Mazda. Sheriff Sam is waiting for them down the road. Sheriff Sam is a damn werewolf. And he begins shooting at Chris's car. So there's a shootout between the sheriff and Chris. And they're shooting out with fucking rifles, okay? With bolt action rifles. So then they kill the sheriff. They take the sheriff's vehicle. And then while they get in, they're surrounded by wolves. Okay, mind you, these are all 8 feet tall, pointy-eared, bipedal wolves. And they're trying to break into the car and kill them, okay? So then, as they escape and drive off, one wolf breaks into the back seat of the car. It bites Karen in the shoulder. She takes the gun and then shoots the wolf, killing the wolf. The wolf's body is still in the back seat. She looks back. It was Bill. How you know it was Bill? Because Bill has a U.S. Marine Corps tattoo on his arm. So this whole time, Bill has been chilling with the pack. So then later, they escape. They leave the colony. They set it on fire. So then later, Karen goes back on the air the next day while reports on the colony fire are being reported. Okay. So then Karen goes on air. She goes off script. She begins reading a monologue about humans and animals, right? She then says there's a secret society living amongst them. She mentions monsters and mutations and that she has proof. And she's going to show them tonight. So then all of a sudden, her eyes turn really glossy, like really, like a bright yellow, right? So she begins to transform on air. And then Chris, her producer, steps in and shoots her one time with the rifle, kills her. They cut the feed because the station manager's like, "What the hell is this?" And her anchor's like, and he cut out. So everybody's watching this woman transform into a wolf. Then there's a scene with the little kids. And mom's like, "What are you guys watching? Hey, we're watching the news lady turn into a werewolf." And so then there's a scene in the bar. And everybody's just chilling, watching this shit like it's nothing, right? So after they cut the feed, right? And then it goes back to the very same bar. One guy says, "Well, yeah, it's real. That's why they cut the feed." So the next guy at the end of the bar, he asks the woman, "Hey, honey, how do you want your burger?" It's Marsha. She says, "Raw." The Howling, 1981. Nigga. Classic. This was a classic movie. Classic. All right. Let me do one more.